Here they are then. 7 topics, 2 minutes on each. Hopefully the bell's working this week and, I can keep my guests suitably harnessed. Excuse me. Right, we will start with syndicate ownership in the week where Kenboy's ownership, well, frankly, is anybody's, Dave Ord. And the BHA here and the ROA here are putting moves in place to try and stop a similar situation unfolding in this country.
Yeah, it's the worry, isn't it? The perception is the route into ownership for most people is through syndicates. They can't afford to buy a horse outright. The training costs. I've been in syndicates in the past. You joined them. Supreme Racing Club was such a high-profile one with really high-profile horses, and what's happened there is damaging. The worry now is what happens now, because the people who think they own the horses are putting their claims in through solicitors, because there's no jurisdiction within Horse Race Island over who owns the horse, or the BHA clearly over here. It's a legal matter that needs deciding, and while this goes on, you've got the likes of Kenboy at Close Sutton being kept ticking over, and Bartham Racing.
And the point is, Richard, that it makes people's confidence in the sport ebb away, and we need as many of the smaller owners and the syndicates as possible.
Well, we could roll off a whole host of very successful syndicates. As I see it here, they can't just 2 or 3 guys buy the others out, because some of them don't know who the others are.
Yes, exactly.
So it's going to go through a very lengthy process. But how frustrating for everyone, for Willie. 14 horses they've got there,
And the horse can't run.
No.
The horse cannot run at the moment, Kenboy, either, and he's the favourite for the Gold Cup.
And you're getting towards the time now where the races he would be running in on route to Cheltenham are looming large, and he's obviously galloping, he's working, they're keeping him ticking over. But how long could this take? Legal matters like this, I mean, the solicitor last week said he hopes it can be moved forward quite quickly. But this could take a long, long time. Yeah. This could be a full season job. I
suppose the only thing is, Leighton, if there's one man who can get the horse there off a limited race preparation, it's W.P. Mullins.
Absolutely. And I hope for the horses benefit that it does get sorted quickly, or the result something, or whatever, and racing these, the likes of Kenboy and the sorts.
That's not the only noise that's been made across the Irish Sea this week. Michael O'Leary's, he's pretty much said everything, Dave. No disrespect to Michael, but I do think he quite likes to wind people up.
I'm sure, well, you're definitely right, and the piece, when it landed, you started reading, the further you got down it, the more amazing it became. This factor about Tiger Roll's weight in the Grand National started the moment he passed the line last season, and they're not going to give him 10 stone 7 in the... He's going to have top weight, whatever they do, isn't he? And there were one or two of the worrying lines in there around him lumping a big weight around Aintree and something happening to him, which Michael said was one of the reasons they're doing this. And that's the sort of comment that shouldn't be going into print about this day and age with the welfare, etc. It was a hard-hitting piece, it was a hard-hitting Michael O'Leary interview, but it was typical Michael O'Leary stuff. It's been an incredible week, hasn't it? We've had the Davy Russell hardly had him for Gigginstown. In his Star Sports blog, Davy Russell said everything's fine, they've just got a lot of jockeys. And then in the Betfair podcast, Eddie O'Leary says that they had a clear-the-air meeting with Michael, Eddie, Gordon Elliott and Davy Russell. It's been a busy old time for the Gigginstown team.
It was a great story that Richie Forrestal got, and I thought he did a brilliant job on it with Michael O'Leary in the paper, but it was almost out of date a day later because a lot of what happened contradicted what was written in the story, Lane.
Yeah, that's right. Always outspoken and opinionated. And they had, another sit-down conversation with a large pot of tea and sorted it out. And now Davy's back on, which is great news.
But also, it happened before, and they replaced Davy, didn't they? Because they said he was taking things for granted. He got the job, and he said he just needed a little play. So he dropped him for a while, and that made him hungry. And Davy, great rider, experienced and fantastic. So he just needed a little electric shock.
But Davy Russell is nothing if not a brilliant rider, and also a wily old fox, and knows how to deal with people, and that has served him well before, and it has served him clearly well again in this instance. As we roll this seamlessly onto the horse himself, Tiger Roll, who's had a bone chip removed, which means he's not going to run until at least February, and then possibly with one spin at Cheltenham before maybe going to the Grand National. I just want to pick up on your point, Dave, and you're a dual Grand National winning rider. Leighton, you're someone who is inextricably associated with the race and a passionate advocate of the race. Do you agree, Richard, that it's not acceptable for Michael, great supporter of the game though he's been, to say something like, I don't want to see the horse drop down dead under that big weight. It's not a responsible thing to say, particularly in the current welfare climate.
If that's the case, he shouldn't own racehorses because they're their own worst enemies. We've seen no end of injuries in fields. You know, colic is a terrible one when they're turned out. Grass sickness, all sorts of things. So they are looked after like kings. They have everything going for them, and they enjoy it.
But specifically on this point, with this race at this time, a time of great sensitivity,
Yes.
it's an insensitive at best way of phrasing something, isn't it?
But Michael is his own man, both in Ryanair business and horse business. So he'll say what he wants to say. No, we need the public. This is why the fences had to change at Aintree. We need public perception to be as good as it can be. And whatever you do, you'll never eradicate everything. Look at Mill Reef, the Derby winner in 1971. Broke his leg going up one of the best gallops in England at Kingsclear. You know, there's no rhyme or reason.
As far as the horse is concerned, if he gets to Aintree, and he obviously has to give more weight away to other horses than he had to the last year or the year before, do you think he could do it?
Of course he could. He's made it look easy the last couple of years.
Yeah.
He really has. Very unfortunate that this has happened now. You know, I'm sure they had the whole season laid out prep-wise. Now they have to rethink all that. But he's in good hands, and you know they'll do everything. You know, for the horse. You know, to get him there in tip-top condition, and there's no reason why he can't.
And a bone chip in the knee. Well, I don't know the specific of this one, but it's not that much. You know, they whip it out, and it's fine.
Tiger Roll. Fingers crossed for him. Hope he comes back. Hope he runs in the Grand National. Hope he wins it. And a very interesting week. Michael O'Leary always provides interest and entertainment in the sport, that's for sure. Danny Brock, the BHA has accepted the defence that he wasn't intentionally modifying his whip, and therefore his suspension was simply for the whip being modified and for marking the horse. It's been quite an unfortunate chapter of events this day, but the BHA are moving to make sure that incidents like this are dealt with in a different way in future.
They are, and I think they needed to do this. Almost played out on social media to start with, didn't it, with the footage of the race and the still photos of the whip. And as I say, the independent tribunal accepted that this was an accident. This occurred as Danny had said it had, that how he'd carried the elastic bands which he used for his silks into the race course. I think moving forward, it's got to be done differently, and I think the BHA are moving that way.
Yeah.
It's got to be more transparent. It's got to be clearer from day one what's happening, what they're looking at, why, and how. And that hasn't happened with this case. It was almost the first I heard about it was on Twitter, and I saw pictures on Twitter of the still frames and people commenting on there, and I hadn't read anything official about it at that stage. Which
Can I ask, Nick? Sorry, how far down the shaft of the whip were the rubber bands? Were they low?
no, they weren't low, were they? They were.
I actually don't know.
No, I don't think they were particularly low. I don't. But Danny's explanation was accepted, and that's moved on. But that was the first thing. And to be fair, the grainy pictures we were looking at were so grainy on Twitter on a still frame from the TV. It was difficult to make out.
I'll just ask, Leigh, I mean, you're in the weighing room day in, day out. Have you ever known of an incidence of a whip being modified to increase its force and ferocity?
No, never. No.
It's not something that jockeys routinely do.
No way, no. And especially, if you do go on to mark one, the penalties are severe, and it gets blown up in the press. But whether Danny, your stick can be in your bag, and if there was bands on it, you get the call to go out. You put your hand in your bag, grab your stick, and out you go. You haven't even thought about where you put the bands on the day before or 2 days before.
Like, just a brief one here. Doesn't the clerk of the scales look at your whip on the way out? There used to be a model, and if it didn't fit in that wooden model, you couldn't use it.
No, when they changed the whips, then we went through a brief period where they were measured and you had to have a specific whip, but nowadays no. Especially the guys riding every day.
Well, maybe that's something that could be looked at. Just somebody there on the door, just cursory checking the whip.
Well, that's another appointment to be made by the BHA. and another person you have to walk by before you get to the paddock.
Are there quite a few now?
More and more.
Really?
More and more, yeah. But anyway, they're constantly changing and modifying everything, and it's all for the greater good.
We want to know in the racing papers, like tongue straps and all cheap pieces. We want to know who's wearing contact lenses, jockeys. Lenzio used to, isn't it? Yeah.
Tom Skew does. I think Nico does.
Yeah.
There's a few, but No, not that many.
No. Can you imagine hitting a fence? First thing goes out is your lens.
Well, as a contact lens wearer myself, I know how effective I am without them. Not very effective at all.
Maybe more should.
I think that says Racecourse Day. This is a call prompted by Richard Phillips and others for a National Racehorse Day to celebrate these great horses and this great sport. What's not to like about that?
Absolutely nothing. It makes perfect sense, doesn't it? And to open the doors to the public, this is the life of a racehorse. This is what happens to them at home, on the gallops, how they're treated, they're celebrated, from the staff owners, everything. It makes perfect sense. Open the door, because we're seen as an exclusive sport, aren't we? That you very rarely get the chance, if you're not actively involved, to go behind the scenes at a stable, see the horses, and the word welfare is popping up every 30 seconds, even on this. But that ability to open the door, show the public, let's celebrate the sport, celebrate for the love of horses within it. There's nothing not to like.
Yeah, take a bit of organisation, something a little different.
An extension, in a way, of the Lambourne Open Day, Newmarket Open Day recently, and Malton. People do have more access now, and with all the clubs that you can be in, there are specific racing days. But yeah, get everyone together.
There are ways of bringing the public closer to the horses, aren't there, Lee? And this seems like a good one.
Very, very good idea. And anything to promote the racehorse in the sport, should be celebrated. Everybody will get together and make sure it happens and it's a success.
And is your fan club still going?
No.
It's been disbanded?
No.
I've still got a pen for your retirement day.
Oh, okay. Does it work?
No, I haven't used it. It'll be on Antiques Roadshow one day.
Oh, dear.
So when you tried to retire the first time, did they retire the fan club with you?
No, really. I think it might be something similar to the Kemboy Syndicate. I think it just got too big for.
It got out of control.
Yeah, for poor John Fairbrother in Worthing. But no, I think he does something online now, but he used to print a magazine once a month or something. But it was full of rides, it was full of dirty jokes and pictures and all. So it was great fun. But no, it's not going anymore.
Bring it back, I say. Bring back the Lake Naspel fan club. Where are you? Handicaps. This was a bugbear of mine, but I'll let you all take it up. Top rated horse in the Bet Victor Gold Cup yesterday, rated 152. It's a long. The days of half Reed Bradbury Star, dare I say it, Cypher Malta, and even Lady Cricket Exotic Dancer seem a fair way ago. And in 2 weeks' time, the Ladbrokes Trophy, lost in translation, goes to the Betfair Chase. The good horses just aren't running in the handicaps.
No, they're not. You think the Ladbrokes Trophy, its previous guys, Hennessy, you had your Denmans, didn't you? Beverly Hill had some wonderful performances under big weights in the handicaps. And
but even your Bobsworths and Tremolgans top weight.
On their way up through the ranks, as well as the established stars. No, it's not. We were due to have St Calvados at the head of the weights in the Bet Victor Gold Cup. He was declared, at least, under that. He's just the sort of horse that you want to see running in them, isn't he?
And they may be right, but they're putting him in against Defi de Suy and Politolog, two higher rated horses off level weights this afternoon.
Yeah, I think they were more concerned about the trip in the ground. So that's why they didn't want to go over that distance yesterday on heavy ground with top weight. So they chose for the shorter distance today.
But even Many Clouds, when he won the then Hennessy, he had a fair weight on his back, didn't he? And a big weight when he won the Grand National.
Yeah, he did. But then I suppose now with all these Grade 1s, coming up so close together, and then you got the £1 million bonus and things like that. It's very attractive, to take these highly rated horses out of these handicaps and go for these races.
So are there too many opportunities?
I've not heard a bell this time. It was going mad last week.
No, it's going. I think it's not the ears as well, is it? The ears and the eyes.
Yeah, everything's gone. Don't worry. But Nick, I have something to say.
Yeah.
We'll never see another Arkle because people won't do with their horses what Arkle did, running in the Hennessy off 12.7, giving 2 stone to Stallbridge Colonist. You don't see that happening so much.
Do you think people are more frightened of getting horses beaten nowadays than they were?
No, like Hen Knight was brilliant how she monitored Best Mate.
Ding,
There's
ding.
the bell.
It's a little one.
We can make it louder for you. This is the Goodwood fighting. People have been given custodial sentences and they've received lifetime bans for the really horrific fight at Goodwood, summer before last. And we've just got to live in hope that the fighting on racecourses comes down next summer, because it's got to a ridiculous level.
It has, and that Goodwood was the worst example. There were a number of examples, weren't there, over the summer of this occurring. The danger was that a day at the races we just seemed to go running alongside. I think days at Test match cricket, the same with drinking, that people drink to excess on a day out at the, or certain people on a day out at the races. And the Goodwood example was horrific. The good news with that was how quickly the authorities acted, the police. It was a full, thorough investigation. The custodial sentence, you'd hope, would act as a deterrent moving forward. But it might be the security needs beefing up. Police presence might need beefing up at racecourses as well. It's, the big summer crowds and the big days like that, it has become an issue over the years. I mean, hopefully it did die down a bit towards the middle and towards the end of last season, and hopefully the Goodwood penalties handed out, the sentences will act as a significant deterrent, as it needs to.
Yeah, it is.
But it's everywhere. You look at the day after the Melbourne Cup, all the photographs of people, not specifically knocking bells out of each other, but they're all on the floor, no shoes, glasses around the head. Drink is the thing. But how do you limit drink? And it's a long time being there. If you get there early, have a lunch, and long time. I don't know. We're never in the right place to see that, are we, Lake? Where else?
No.
You'd be wading in, wouldn't you?
It's not like the old days. The old were, and there was lots of drink in them days, but not anymore. No.
When you started, was there a bit more booze in the weighing room?
No, never. No, never, ever. Now we're tested regularly too, but no way. No, it's too professional nowadays.
I have a great story on that line, and they're both sadly no longer with us, so can't be sued. Biddlecombe and Josh Gifford up at Haydock Park one day, and in between each race, Biddlecombe would get out of his bag this bottle of red stuff with bits floating in it. You see, Josh, give me one. So anyway, it's gone through the day. We get to the last race, you see, and we're all watching. Biddlecombe's ridden the most brilliant race as he could, and he used to ride with one hand right up near the ears and very powerful, you see. And of course he'd had a few, and his hand dropped off the neck, you see. So he's like, but luckily just held on by a short head. And we've rushed down there to see what Fred Rymel, who trained it, was going to say, because it was pretty obvious. And Biddles was brilliant. Everyone loved Biddles. Big blonde bombshell. And we're in there seeing, he's going to get his backside kick. He said, you wouldn't believe it, Fred. He said, I thought I'd ridden a brilliant race. And I going for it. I just got it. He said, and he put his foot in the hole and stumbled. He said, bad luck.
What I want to know is what the red liquid with bits.
Well, no, it wasn't shared with us.
Sounds great.
It wasn't shared with us.
Homebrew.
We'll bring some in next week, maybe. Those were this week's talking points. Subscribe to Racing TV to be notified when more Luck on Sunday videos are appearing online. And don't forget to join me for the show every Sunday morning from 9 o'clock with the best guests.